everybody, welcome back to an episode of the 3 Count Super. I'm here today. I'm War Machine MJ, and I'm here today to talk about Monday Night Raw before and after the horror show at Extreme Rules. And of course, I'm recording this now 2 weeks after Extreme Rules, and I gotta say, it really was a horror show. To quickly sum up how I felt about Extreme Rules, I felt like the same way a lot of people felt about Extreme Rules. Great matches, just clunky finishes, or just bad finishes. To put this in perspective, Extreme Rules was worse than Slammiversary. Slammiversary was amazing. Like, I tuned into Slammiversary because given that July the 18th was when, all the 90-day no-compete clauses went up, so there was any number of people to show up at Slammiversary. So I tuned in thinking, oh, this is going to be a decent show. Bad wrestling is better than boring wrestling, and I was surprised. It's a pretty good show, aside from a couple of matches I wasn't digging, but yeah, Slammiversary was better than Extreme Rules. Extreme Rules had all the hype. Anyway, let's go ahead and talk about Monday Night Raw. We're going to kick off with the July 13th edition of Monday Night Raw, where we kicked off the show with MVP's VIP Lounge, where his special guest was Dolph Ziggler. Of course, still following the narrative of, Drew McIntyre owes so much to Dolph Ziggler because Dolph Ziggler did, this, that, and the other for old Drew. And, they still had the narrative of Dolph Ziggler still has yet to pick a stipulation for Extreme Rules. Of course, McIntyre showed up, and he basically put it to bed that Dolph Ziggler isn't owed anything by Drew McIntyre, and of course, Dolph Ziggler got laid out by McIntyre. And of course, McIntyre left on his merry way after he intimidated MVP. Next, we had an elimination tag team match as Andrade and Angel Garza took on the Viking Raiders. And of course, this was an elimination match, and, well, you know how those go. This was a pretty good match. Yeah, in the middle of it, Andrade and Angel Garza started getting on the same page as Andrade eliminated Eric of the Viking Raiders early in the match. Then Ivar eliminated Andrade, and Angel Garza picked up the W for his team, putting both men on the same page. Next, we had Ruby Riott, her issues with the Iconics, and the Iconics were teasing Ruby Riott for not having any friends, given that Liv Morgan has more or less turned her back on Ruby. So Ruby Riott says, well, I got a new friend, and out comes the EST of WWE. That is, of course, Bianca Belair. So that leads to a tag team match, Bianca Belair and Ruby Riott taking on the Iconics. And, of course, Bianca Belair flattened the Iconics. Ruby Riott was there. So, yeah. Next, we had a 24/7 title match going down. It was R-Truth taking on Akira Tozawa, and Akira Tozawa wasn't, Akira Tozawa was rolling squad deep with his ninjas. And R-Truth was bickering about the ninjas being there. And, the match was going to proceed as planned until Shayna Baszler showed up and just wrecked house. She choked out all three of the ninjas at ringside. Akira Tozawa then said, "I'm out," and bolted. R-Truth said, "I'm out. Here's the boomstick." Tossed her the mic. And Shayna Baszler arrived. Basically, she said she'd let everybody have their fun, but playtime is over. Next, we had Aleister Black taking on Murphy. This was a hard hitting match, just a great but brutal affair. Aleister Black won by disqualification because Seth Rollins got involved, which led to Seth Rollins' match against Kevin Owens. Um, yeah, Kevin Owens picked up the victory with a stunner after Seth and his buddy got cornered by Ray, Dominic, and Aleister Black ahead of the Eye for an Eye match. And Rey Mysterio once again vowed that Seth Rollins would leave the horror show with only one eye. Next, we had a match between Randy Orton and R-Truth, which wasn't much of a match because R-Truth thought he was facing Ric Flair in a match until he got the heavy dose of reality that he was challenged to a match by Ric Flair on behalf of Randy Orton. So it's all about the context clues there. So R-Truth started off the match, trying to jaw jack with Ric Flair, taking his eyes off of Orton. Orton took umbrage with it, and that allowed R-Truth to get a quick flurry of offense. R-Truth then tried for the scissor kick until Orton dodged it and hit an RKO for the 1-2-3. And Orton was about to put R-Truth on the shelf like he did Edge and Christian with the punt until Big Show came out. Orton scampered off, but threw an interesting gauntlet the world's largest athlete's way by saying next week on Monday Night Raw, unsanctioned match, which Big Show happily accepted. Next, we had Ricochet taking on Bob Lashley. Of course, Ricochet tried all of his speed and aerial maneuverability, but he still couldn't beat the full Nelson. Of course, Bob Lashley hit the full Nelson when Ricochet came off of a handspring against the ropes. So Cedric Alexander rushed the ring after the bell to try and help Ricochet out, but Bob Lashley destroyed him as well. And finally, that led us to our main event. As Sasha Banks and Bayley defended the WWE Women's Tag Team Championships against the Kabuki Warriors. Fantastic match, but long of the short of it, Kairi Sane went for a sliding forearm, which was reversed into a bank statement. Of course, she tapped. So, yeah, that's how we closed out Monday Night Raw from July 13th. And now from July 20th, aka the show after the horror show. So, we kicked off the show with Seth Rollins. Basically, he said that after his match at Extreme Rules, the Eye for an Eye match, which he won before he saw the aftermath, and just kind of puked all over the outside. He said that the aftermath of the match will change him forever. And he showed no remorse for what he did to Mysterio, and he blamed everyone but himself for what happened to Rey Mysterio. Of course, Aleister Black came out to extract some vengeance against Rollins, which of course Rollins is always rolling squad deep, even if it's just his buddy, Murphy. This led to a match between Aleister Black and Seth Rollins. Try as Aleister Black might, he came up short with a stomp. Afterwards, Rollins and Murphy wore out Aleister Black's already battle damaged arm, and he stomped it on the arena floor over the hood of the commentary desk. And then he just screamed the question, "When is enough enough?" So, very scintillating stuff. Next, we had a promo from MVP, basically gloating over his no contest victory over Apollo Crews at Extreme Rules, until Cedric Alexander's friends, Ricochet and Cedric Alexander, came out. And MVP threw out the gauntlet. He's like, listen, there's two of you, three of us, three being Bob Lashley, MVP, and the new 24/7 champion, Shelton Benjamin, who has been formally inducted into the Hurt Business by taking out R-Truth earlier in the night. He says there's two of you, three of us, you pick which two you want to face us. Ricochet goes, well, there's three of us because we found a new friend. And their new friend was Mustafa Ali, who's making his return to Monday Night Raw. And of course, Mustafa Ali is looking jacked. That's kind of the norm for everybody who's either got all this time off or coming off injury. They always look jacked. Of course, that led to a six-man tag team match. The Hurt Business taking on Ali, Ricochet, and Cedric Alexander. And in stunning fashion, Ali, Alexander, and Ricochet got the victory, with Mustafa Ali hitting the new and unofficial United States Champion MVP with a 450 splash. Amazing. Next, we had barely a match as Ruby Riott defeated Peyton Royce. Basically a cathartic win for Ruby Riott as she finally silenced Peyton Royce, at least for now. Next, we had a promo from Andrade and Angel Garza, basically talking all that good spit about the Raw Tag Team Champions until they were ambushed by the Street Profits, which led to this Tag Team Championship match. This was a fantastic match, just bang up barn burner, as the Street Profits retained over Garza and Andrade. And despite the loss, Andrade and Garza are still on the same page. How so? We'll find out soon enough. Next, we had the gloat parade from Sasha Banks and Bayley as they came into the ring with all four titles in their possession. Of course, Sasha Banks physically taking the Raw Women's Championship through some screwy fashion. Just long and the short of it, referee got taken out. Bayley put on a ref shirt and unofficially counted the 1, 2, 3, and Sasha Banks is champion in only stolen property. The Kabuki Warriors came out, and Asuka basically was ready to rip Sasha's head off from her shoulders and take her title back. And before all four parties could come to blow, Stephanie McMahon popped up on the screen. How nice is it that we haven't seen her in like a millennia? Anyway, basically she expressed her congratulations and broke the news to Sasha that she's not the official Raw Women's Champion. And basically she put down the law. She said that next week will be for the Raw Women's Championship, Asuka taking on Sasha Banks. And to ensure that there's a clear winner, there will be a clear winner. The title can change hands by pinfall, submission, countout, disqualification, or interference. But she also made another match as Bayley took on Kairi Sane in a hard-hitting, brutal, but amazing match as Kairi Sane picked up the victory with a roll-up on Bayley, countering the Bayley to belly. So, big win for Kairi Sane with her on her way out the door, because rumor and innuendo suggest that Kairi Sane is pretty much done, but WWE want to keep her in a diplomatic role, to establish a foothold in Japan. So we'll see how that goes from now on. Well, going forward, I should say. Next, we had Drew McIntyre basically celebrating his cathartic victory over Dolph Ziggler at Extreme Rules. And even though the ball was in Ziggler's court, Drew McIntyre still came up looking aces. Because the stipulation that Dolph Ziggler laid on McIntyre moments before the bell sounded was that it was an Extreme Rules match for Ziggler only. And the title can change hands if McIntyre is disqualified or counted out. So odds were stacked heavily in Drew McIntyre's court. They put on a killer match. Drew McIntyre came out smelling roses with the championship in tow. Drew McIntyre basically said he was looking forward. He was trying to figure out who's going to be his next opponent for SummerSlam until Dolph Ziggler came out, basically pulling the old Christian line of one more match. Come on, one more match. Drew McIntyre said, no, you're pissing me off. I'm out. And then Dolph Ziggler basically enticed the champion into accepting the offer by saying, one more match, you pick the stipulation. And Drew McIntyre's like, all right, cool, you got me. You're on. And of course, Dolph's like, all right. What's the stipulation? Drew McIntyre's just like, well, I mean, I've already said yes, so I don't know what the stipulation's going to be. But I will tell you this. I'm going to pull the same stunt you pulled in Extreme Rules. You'll find out right before the bell. So, Drew McIntyre's just making this up as he goes along, isn't he? Next, we move on to our main event, which was the unsanctioned match, as Randy Orton took on the Big Show in a pretty good match. But you know how this goes. Randy Orton put Big Show down with an RKO, 1, 2, 3. And then he punted the Big Show. Afterwards, he said, one more legend down. So, yeah. Anyway, that's Monday Night Raw before and after the horror show of Extreme Rules. Remember, If you miss Rod and his opinions, he has a podcast. You need to go check it out. It's called Prime Talk with Rodimus Prime on the Castbox app. Go check it out. He puts a lot of work into this crap. Yeah, no doubt he's probably talking about New Japan. Anyway, that being said, I'm War Machine MJ, and I will see you guys next time. Ba-bang.